Ted Hornback's 26 basketball seasons, he coached some of Western's greatest athletes. He did the same in his 34 seasons as head tennis coach. And one of those great athletes was Roger Otten. Otten lettered 4 times, won 4 Ohio Valley Conference championships, and 4 of the league's Player of the Year awards. He won 35 matches at the #1 singles spot while losing just twice. His accomplishments propelled Western to 31 wins in dual meet competition. Otten's talents led the Hilltoppers to win 3 OVC titles, 1950, 52, and 53. And as if tennis wasn't enough, he spent 4 years as a student manager for Western's basketball team. 1997 Western Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Roger Otten.
Thank you very much. If Tip Downing, with his glorious athletic past, can express surprise at being inducted, this tennis hacker from more than 40 years ago was astounded, but very pleased. And I thank the members of the committee and all the people who make this possible. It's a wonderful day for me to come back. I haven't been around the campus very much in the last 40 years, 45 years, I guess. I ran into a fellow out there and I said, well, the game over there in the stadium, he says, well, you're pointing the wrong way. And I said, well, and that's Jimmy Fikes Field. He says, yeah, it's down on Big Red Way or something. I used to call it Russellville Road. And I said, Jimmy Fikes Field is right beyond that colonnade there. Because I was here when Jimmy Fikes was the quarterback. And that's his field to this day. Now, I found out since they made it formal and named that other field where they play. So I said to the fellow, well, okay, I'll give that to you. Then he said something very funny that so many of us in here would appreciate. He said, and I'll tell you something else. The Big Red Barn is a library. Now, the other was hard to take. And for some of you who, like me, spent a lot of time over in that place, that's always going to be the Big Red Gym. And I had such great experiences there. And the people you associate, of course, with every locale. And that was, after all, where Ed Diddle and Ted Hornback, and so many others who are here tonight, Johnny Oldham. I didn't get to see Johnny. I'll tell you something about him in just a moment, though. And so I thought, well, this isn't my Western anymore, not the place I went to. They even took away the dormitory I lived in for 5 years when the Diddle dorm, I understand now, is gone. But I love this place, and I guess I would love it still. I just haven't had a chance. Now, with John Oldham, for instance. Now, John never liked me. I was down here during the time he was at College Heights High School. College Heights, it used to be called, I think. I'll tell you why. I found that out. We used to scout for Ted Hornback. Ted would say, John, would you go scout Moorhead or Tennessee Tech or something? And then he needed company. So I filled all kinds of roles in those days. And I went with him. And the first time we went, I got in the car, and he took out a cigar and handed one to me. I never smoked, didn't then, haven't since, certainly not since. But every time that we ever went to the game, there was John smoking a cigar, driving that 150, 200 miles. I don't know if John remembers that, but I remember that very well. And I never found some way to get even with him. But I like John. I really like him. I look at Hardin Hall. Clement made some interesting comments about the faculty and what they meant. And look at Hardin Hall, and I think of Hugh Johnson and Ms. Richards. You remember the College Heights Herald? I know I had a great experience a couple times since I left Western, and I studied under some eminent mathematicians, superb lecturers. But I'll tell you, for those of you in here, and I hope it's at least one, who remembers Hugh Johnson, he was the most magnificent mathematics teacher I ever had. And I can say that about others who were here at the time on the faculty, because both in the classroom and in athletics, it was a joy to be here. I remember, too, one last thing. Well, no, but the last thing I have time for. And I noticed Van Meter Auditorium, I understand now, called Van Meter Hall. It used to be strictly an auditorium. And I remember one night I was asked to go up there. I had a friend from Hazard, played on the basketball team by the name of Kay Greer, another by the name Don McGuire. Bobby McGuire was here too. And they say, come on up there, we're going to record a song. And Don McGuire and 3 other Western students. And so the Hazard group, with whom I somehow just fell in with, in Cincinnati, we didn't even talk the same language. We went over to Van Meter, and some people came up from Nashville and recorded it. And we, as music critics, sat back there and made fun of it, and we said, what a waste of time. And for those of you who know what I'm talking about, it was no more than 6 months later that group, who chose to call themselves what else, the Hilltoppers, were on the Ed Sullivan Show. And again, for the younger people, he was a TV personality back then, well thought of. But I guess one of the most vivid memories, though, wasn't just on the playing floor. It was also in Van Meter. And I went one night. I was an English major here. I just switched to mathematics later. I was an English major, and there was the Merchant of Venice was going to be given up there. And a friend of mine, a good friend of mine then and throughout a lifetime, played the lead of Shylock. I don't know if there's just one of you in here who just happened to be there at that time and hear that marvelous deep voice and marvelous performance. And it just thrills me to this day to have that wonderful memory of Bill Biven, who a little bit later returned to this university as the school attorney. And his lovely family, part of them are there at my table over there. Some of them went over to this side. They're over there with other good friends of mine and my wife, who doesn't wish to stand up, but she should. She's a lovely woman. I have all these thoughts going through my mind. I have one last one, though, that I must leave you with. A little while ago, a couple weeks ago, I guess, Ted Hornback died. And it was he who brought me here, who kept me here. There were times when that was a tough situation. And I owe him so much. And I think he epitomizes what Western Kentucky is all about. God bless him tonight, this afternoon. And for all the rest of you whom I didn't get to see, whom I've seen before, I'd like to at least say hello to you. And John, please don't run off. Dee Gibson now, there was just a comment a few minutes ago about my impact on tennis and bringing tennis to the Western campus. Dee Gibson, in all truth, brought it long before I got here. And I'm glad I wasn't there in his era. I wouldn't have had that kind of a record if he had been here. So I thank all of you again, and I'll leave you with one thought. You know, the United States Tennis Association adopted a motto a number of years ago, 20 years ago, I guess. It said, tennis, sport for a lifetime. But to me, I can sincerely say that I think of Western an experience and an education for a lifetime. Thank you very much.
Apologize.